Hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We're here with Brandon Leibowitz from SEOoptimizers.com. Now, Brandon runs and operates this company called SEO Optimizers. They are a digital marketing company that focuses on helping small and medium-sized businesses get more online traffic, which then converts to clients, sales, and leads. And so in SEO terms, Brandon is here basically guest blog posting, but in podcast format, right? And we're meeting, we're talking, he's sharing content. We'll get some backlinks as a result. He'll rank in the search terms. And in the meantime, have fun and help these businesses that are stuck with SEO. So Brandon, nice to meet you. And what do you have to say?
Thanks for having me on today.
Glad to have you. And so yeah, SEO, like people talk about it a lot. And I feel like maybe in the past, like 2 to 3 years, I finally gotten my head around it, because it seems like just up until then, there was all this just minutia. And it seems like just the last few years, especially, people have like structured it better and said, like, here are these buckets, right? Here's like local SEO and on page and off page. And I feel like I get a better sense of like what needs to be done. And so what are your thoughts on this whole search engine optimization thing, and how do you stand out from all these other agencies?
Yeah, no, SEO is a way to get free traffic to your website, and who doesn't want free traffic? So help people when they're searching on Google for your keywords, make sure that your website appears, but also when you're searching on Google, images appear. So optimizing your images. If you have any videos, optimize those videos. Videos sometimes appear if you're a local business. Catch up on Google Maps and just try to take up as much free real estate as possible, because that's really what SEO is all about. It's all about just tapping into that free traffic from the search engines. And it's not just websites, it's a lot of other stuff nowadays. So just trying to tap into as much traffic as possible without spending money on paid ads. And been doing it since 2007 and seen all the changes over the years and how Google has changed, but really focus on good quality content and good quality backlinks. There's a lot of other variables that go in SEO, but those two things are some of the more important aspects. That if you optimize your content, then you have good content, and then you have good backlinks, that's going to help Google trust you and know what keywords to rank you for.
Fantastic. You make it sound doable, right? The content and backlinks. And I like what you said there about how there's all this free real estate. And I mean, you're not joking. Whenever I get like an SEO sort of guest on my show, it's a lesson in itself to Google you and to Google your company name and to see like all the podcast guest appearances, the guest blog posts, the review sites, the different social networks. And I think all these things like, oh yeah, I could go over to Pinterest and post there and get these backlinks. And you mentioned there about the Google image search results and about, optimizing your videos and like, oh, there's, a post on YouTube, but I could also post to Vimeo. And so it seems at first like a whole mess of stuff, like a huge, big, long to-do list. But then it seems like the solution, there's probably like 3 solutions, right? There's the solution of do nothing, keep doing what you're doing, and be frustrated about the free traffic you're not getting. It seems like option 2 is to try to do some of this yourself, but there's like 520 things to do just this month with SEO. And it seems like the third option is maybe go to a company such as yourself, where you say, this month, here's what's doable. And we'll put a person on it, we'll put a team on it, and we'll get to these tasks and show you some results. And so, like, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on just making sense of all these Google changes since 2007? And what are your thoughts on people just being overwhelmed with all the things that could be done?
Well, there's a lot you could automate. So the more you could automate, the easier life is going to be. Using tools like Zapier, or Zapier is a great tool where you say, all right, anytime I post on my own blog, share it on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Pinterest, and pretty much does it for you. It's not going to make it perfect. You might have to add some hashtags and things like that, but at least it kind of sets the foundation to save time. But there is a lot that needs to be done when you're doing content and publishing it out there and getting all the different platforms and making sure, like if you do a podcast episode, you want to share it on all the social media sites, you probably want to share it on your own website. And there's ways to kind of automate some of those tasks, not completely, but anything to help you save time is going to make you more efficient, so you can focus on the more important things: creating good content, creating good videos, creating good podcasts, or whatever content you're putting out there. But once it's out there, it takes a little bit of time to get that exposure, but the little bit of time is much less than the time that you invested creating that content. So if you're just creating content and throwing it up there and hoping people find it, it might work, it might not work. But if you spend the extra time to really promote it, that's where you spend an extra 30 minutes promoting it, you're going to see that difference in the number of views, traffic, likes, comments, wherever you're posting it, but you'll see that engagement and people are going to stick and resonate more with it. So it does take time. And unfortunately, there's no real shortcuts, but they're all tools. Like Zapier is a great free tool. And there's other tools that could help kind of automate some of those tasks, but you do need to spend the time and you need to learn them and stay up to date with what Google wants you to do, because Google changes every single day. So what works today doesn't necessarily work tomorrow. For the most part, it will, but Google changes all the time. So you never know what they're going to look for. But the main thing they're doing is they're trying to stop spam. So if you're doing anything that seems shady or a little too good to be true, or like a shortcut, that potentially could get you in trouble with Google. But if you're not doing anything that seems weird or sketchy, then you don't really have to worry too much about their algorithm updates, except for sometimes they'll tell you like, all right, if your website's not mobile friendly, we're not going to show you on mobile devices, back in like 2013. So that was a sign like, hey, if you're not mobile friendly, Google's not going to show you on mobile devices. And nowadays that's over half the traffic comes from mobile. So most websites are responsive, mobile friendly nowadays, but there's tools that will let you check, like the Google mobile friendly test tool, and it'll show you if a website's mobile friendly or not to Google, because it might be mobile friendly on your phone, but Google might say the fonts are too unique or the colors are too close to one another, that won't be mobile friendly. And I've seen that happen before. So it's little nuances that you have to check all that stuff. But for the most part, if you're not doing anything weird or sketchy, then you don't have to worry too much about algorithm updates. But it is good to try to stay up to date, talk to other webmasters or other people that do SEO, or other people in your industry, or you can join forums or Facebook groups or read blogs or listen to podcasts, and just try to learn as much as you can to just be up to date, because Google doesn't really tell you when they make those changes, because they don't want you to know. They don't want you doing SEO. They want you to run paid ads. That's how they make all their money. So they have to have the SEO listings, because we went on Google and it's just all ads. You'd be like, no, I'm going on Bing, Yahoo, or DuckDuckGo, or Brave, or a different search engine. But they have to have that balance. But they don't really like SEO. They want you to spend that money on paid ads.
Those are some good insights that, yeah, like they don't want you to do SEO. They want you to do paid ads. And so it's sort of that moving target. But then there are those tools available, like that Google Webmaster Console. That's a great tip, because, and I didn't even know that your website could look great on a phone, but then according to Google, they might say, oh, well, the colors aren't contrasted enough, or the font's not what we want. And that's really good to know. And every now and then I get one of those errors like, oh, such and such website isn't mobile friendly. And I'm like, what is that? And like, I don't always check, because I'm just like, oh, I know that I'm using whatever WordPress theme, but maybe it's a WordPress theme from like, 5-10 years ago. And now I know from you that I need to check that, because there might be some specific issue that's easily fixable, but it's also easy not to fix it and let it go by the wayside. Next thing you know, you're not even being shown in the search results for mobile. So that is a good insight. And another good insight, because I'm just trying to, digest what you've been saying, because it was all really great, is you're saying that there's the content side of things, right? You put all this work and effort into content, and then you also need to pay attention to the distribution, and that a lot of that can be automated, like with Zapier, where you make your blog post, it checks your RSS feed, goes to these social profiles. But then also there's something in there that you said it was very helpful, where you said like, you said kind of like have a checklist of like where you want your post to end up, and maybe you need to make adjustments in hashtags. But what was really great is you said like budget like 30 minutes of time with every post, like have a set block of time just to like get it out there, because it's so easy. It's so tempting to just say, cool, I made my blog post for the week. Now I'm going to go answer some emails and do some customer service or manage my team or something else. And there's that really important aspect there of just the marketing of your content. And then also you mentioned how important it is to do that networking, to be on these social networks, not just to play around and read, but also to participate and to, get some of these joint ventures worked out. And, it's a two-way street, right? You want links back, you want to link to others, and you don't want to just be some irrelevant person who's not existing. And also that ties exactly in with you being here on a podcast and doing that part of the networking. And with podcasting, it's fun to jump into stories, right? You've kind of given us some kind of like, facts and ideas, but stories are what are kind of the more interesting things, because it shows what you do and the people that you help. So what comes to mind as far as like a case study or a success story or something that you guys at SEO Optimizers have had a lot of fun with?
One recently, been working with them for a few years, but helping out a fashion clothing company, and they make fashion for like music events and festivals. So it's a little bit more niche. the more niche it is, the less competition, the more realistic it is to be able to rank, because just ranking for like fashion or women's clothing, hyper competitive. But if you can find something unique and niche about your business, that's going to always help out. So with them, worked with them, went on their website, made changes to their structure and their hierarchy of their different categories or collections, since they were on Shopify, because that's a big part of your website is how you organize it, how you structure it, helps Google and search engines find and really understand what that website's about, because search engines are just robots and they get lost. So the easier you make it for them to find that content, know what that content really is supposed to be about, the more they're going to reward you. And by doing that, they pretty much shot up the rankings because they're a pretty big brand. They had a good backlink profile already built up, so they had some trust with Google, but Google just kind of got stuck with the website. They had a lot of duplicate categories where they were just kind of competing against themselves, which is another thing you have to realize. Like if you have pages that are about the same topic, now you're your own competitor where you're just cannibalizing your results and merging those pages together that let Google know, okay, this is the main page. All these other ones are duplicates. Let's redirect the old ones to the new one or the main one that we're going to keep as a central hub. So again, this is kind of getting a little technical, but you do need to go in and make sure that Google's able to read that website, because if they're having trouble reading the website, they're going to get stuck, lost, and confused, and they're not going to know what keywords to rank you for. So by making those changes, Google is able to better read their website and shop them up to pretty much the top position, number 1, number 2, number 3 for almost all their keywords that are really competitive keywords, where before they were on page 2, page 3. So they were close to being on page 1. It's just they needed that little bump of the trust from, or a little bump of Google reading their website better, and me building some new backlinks to just keep that growth going, because to Google, a normal website would always be having some backlinks being sent it. So building backlinks by finding other sites that relate to what they're doing. So with them, they were a clothing fashion website. So finding anything related to fashion, clothing, those types of websites, and trying to build relationships with those webmasters to see potentially if there's like a partnership, or if we could give like free product to somebody as an influencer and they write a blog post about it on their website and give us a clickable link. So it's lots of different ways to build backlinks. And it's just, you want to really get on sites that relate to what you're doing. That's a big part of SEO is relevancy. The more related the backlinks are to your website, the better off you're going to be. The more related those keywords are on your website to what someone's searching on Google, the more likely Google's going to show you for all that, for that keyword. So just making sure everything ties together, got them up there, and they saw sales shot up because we're tracking everything through Google Analytics to look at how much traffic, how much revenue they're getting, because we could tie it directly there. They also have a store. It's a little tougher to tie revenue to that, but you could track like in-store conversions and things like that with geo-targeting, a radius, mainly through cell phones. So they could see if your cell phone, you walk into that store, they could track that as a conversion. Doesn't show how much they spent, but all that just helps out, because sometimes it gets tough with tracking. Sometimes you gotta get creative and figure out, if I can't track revenue specifically, if it's like an in-store physical purchase, what other alternatives are there? Because you want to track those conversions. That way you could show what's really going on, because traffic is great, but traffic is just half the battle. Once people get to your website, how do you get them to buy? And that's a whole another aspect where it's conversion rate optimization, optimizing that website for conversions, where then we go in and look at the website, try to figure out, all right, maybe we should move the add to cart button a little bit higher, change the add to cart to buy now, or do all this A/B testing, because you never know what's going to work until you test. And then once you see something that works, like maybe add to cart, change it to buy now, that works better. All right, let's see if changing the color of the buy now button a little bit darker shade of orange or whatever the color is, let's see how that affects conversions, because there is no perfect website. You always want to be testing to maximize the value of every potential traffic visitor to get them to convert into a client, phone call, email, whatever that conversion goal is that you're focused on.
Amazing. And it's a lot of fun just hearing how passionate you are, and just hearing about just taking all these quick dips into the geeky technical aspects of it, right? Because, and also kind of just experiencing a little bit of how it sometimes seems to be like an art and a science, right? With you and your team doing some of this SEO work, like it's easy enough to say like, oh, well, like, you know, mobile responsive, I have a fast page load time, I have a sitemap file. But then like you as someone who's seen everything, you might look at a site and be like, oh, well, the problem is that the organization, the hierarchy needs to be a little bit different, or like some like structured markup or something like that to make Google more happy. I can see how you can have a lot of fun solving these problems. And like you said, doing the outreach to get these backlinks and just figuring out like what's that list of all those similar sites in the space to just keep reaching out and develop these relationships. Whereas, again, if some company was trying to do this themselves and they were just like sending an email here and there or just seeing what comes their way, that just seems like little drips and drabs of what could be done. But then if there's someone like you and your team who is like looking at like, dozens or hundreds of websites per day, or like sending out on a consistent basis some of these emails and replying and following up, and like you said, conversion rate optimization and moving a button, changing a color, changing the wording, and then measuring that and seeing what the difference is, looking at the geo-targeting and how the different kinds of like in-store sale or website sale, I can just see how you can have a lot of fun solving these hard problems. And it always seems like you solve one problem and it opens up even new, better problems for you to solve. But that's part of entrepreneurship, right? And that seems like it can be a lot of fun. And so many people out there just maybe treat SEO as like a one-time thing or an every now and then thing, or they stop. And I like how with you, there's always more detail. There's always something more to try. Like you said, there's never a perfect website. There's always just something new that could be done. And so with all of your multiple decades of SEO, you said that you've been at this since 2007. You've seen so much change. Is there anything you feel like sharing that has surprised you about Google and SEO that was just like completely completely new for you?
I mean, lots of stuff that was new that I didn't really expect coming up, but I mean, like AI, a big one. That one, I don't think anyone expected coming up, and just trying to figure out what's going to happen with AI. Are they going to incorporate it into the search results? Because that might be something that, well, Bing's doing that currently, and Google is competing against Bing. They don't want to lose that market share, so they're going to do anything they can to hold on to it. But we'll have to see how that's going to happen. That one's pretty interesting. Happened kind of really quickly, and it's just been exponential how fast it's been growing with AI, and it's not slowing down, and just have to see how that's going to work out and how it's going to come to play with that. But I feel like that's the biggest thing. Everything else is kind of makes sense that Google's doing. Like if your website loads slowly, they're not going to rank you as high because they want a good user experience. If you're searching on Google and you click on a website, it takes like 10 seconds, especially on mobile, you're going to be like, no, I'm hitting that back button. So stuff like that, or making sure your website looks mobile friendly, like cleaning up spam, making sure you're not doing anything like any weird stuff to build backlinks. All that stuff makes sense. It's just, just really trying to figure out what's going to happen with this AI stuff. That's one where it's a little black box of who knows what's going to happen. Are they going to incorporate into search results? Are people going to use it more than Google? Is it going to take over? But we'll just have to see and wait to see what happens.
And I mean, do you have any guesses, or do you think, is there anything we can do to prepare?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because it changes so quickly. So if Google puts in search results, they might leave it there. They might take it away. They're testing. So you never really know. But for the most part, Google's still going to be there. But we'll just have to see what it's going to do and how it's going to change. And might change its look and feel a little bit in the future. But probably still will be websites because you can't do everything on AI. You can't just buy stuff yet on AI. So for e-commerce, you can't really do that. Or a lot of stuff it can't do. It's more good for just like questions and answers.
Right. And I think about that all the time when there's all these promises about AI. And I mean, I have been amazed by things like ChatGPT. But on the other hand, when I open the front page of YouTube or Amazon or something like that, I only see like 10 to 20% of like what I really want. And I'm like, okay, as soon as they get that dialed in, as soon as I open up the Netflix screen and I don't have to click through and I see like everything is like what I want, or whenever Amazon figures out that program where they order things for you and just deliver them guessing but what they think you'll need, as soon as that's figured out, then I'll be like even more impressed on another level. But in the meantime, I'm like, okay, like we're not quite there yet. But what is good, even about just, these ideas that you're throwing out, it seems like it's really valuable to tap into the curiosity factor. And for someone out there to say, oh, there's so much to know with SEO, like I don't want to know all of it, but it seems like it's valuable to at least be aware of a lot of these concepts, even if they're not capable of implementing it themselves, even if they want to have your company and your team do it. It seems like it's helpful just to like always be exposing yourself to this information, right? To what changes are happening with SEO and with AI. That way you don't have to play catch up. And even if you don't understand it all or you can't use it all, at least it'll be just kind of going through your head, and at least you'll just be a part of it. You'll be looking at it.
It helps to be on top of it, be ready, and just constantly be ready to keep learning, because with digital, there is no constant, it's just changing all the time. So it's got to be ready and just stay up to date with all the changes, and just be prepared for something to just a curveball be thrown at you, and just got to adapt and adjust with it, and then just figure out, all right, now how do I go? How do I keep my business afloat? Or what do I do now to appease Google or whatever platform search engines out there?
Whoever takes over in the coming decades. And it can be fun. And it can be, if you look at your other competitors who refuse to learn, who refuse to change, who want to be the blockbuster or the taxi company, then they can go by the wayside while you continue to remain in business. And so if a company or a person out there says, okay, I know now that I need to take this SEO idea seriously, and I need to talk with Brandon and his team at SEO Optimizers to get some of this stuff figured out. They might say, I like what he did with the fashion company. He did this and this and this, and fixed up their website, fixed up their outreach and their backlinks, and I'd like something similar. How does somebody know if their company is a good fit for your agency? And if they are, how do they contact you?
Yeah, the best would be, well, I create a special gift for everybody. So anyone listening or watching, if they go to my website at SEOoptimizers.com, that's SEOoptimizers.com/gift. They can find that there along with my contact information and a bunch of classes I've done over the years I've thrown up for free. So they can see step by step how to do a lot of stuff that we talked about. And also, if they want to book some time on my calendar, I'm happy to check out their website from an SEO point of view for free, and they could book some time there as well.
And so as we're wrapping up our conversation here, Brandon, you've been doing search engine SEO for 15 plus years. If you could tell your younger self who was just then jumping into search engine optimization, is there any advice you'd give your past self about all this?
Probably getting mentors sooner than later, and just asking for help from other people that have ran businesses. It doesn't have to be SEO or whatever you're doing, but just anybody that has some experience, some knowledge that you could feed off. And there's plenty of website or ways to get mentors, like networking events and talking to other people. Or if you can't find one, there's a website, score.org, where they'll connect you with a mentor. And now with everything being online, you don't have to be in the physical city that they're in. And that's a great way to find someone that's going to help just you learn from their mistakes and grow from what's worked and help them in the past, and really just help you grow much quicker. So that's something I wish I did more. I have mentors, used them in the past, but I just wish I'd really jumped in earlier, because that would have really helped grow much faster.
Would have shortcut a lot of time for sure.